Hey guys, my name is Aztrex and I have a tutorial on how to become an illustrator for Photoshop. I'll do an illustrator one for other people at a different time, but I'm going to be going over shading and colouring different methods. And before I start with that, you're going to need a graphics tablet, one that's with a pen that's pressure sensitive. Pretty much all of them are, I think, but you're going to need one of them. And I have a cold, if you didn't know. It's the first time I've had one in a few years, so sorry if I sound a little funny. And the last thing I want to say is thanks for 700 subs. It means a lot. Never thought I would have actually stayed here this long, and I never thought it would have got to a point where people actually looked up to me and asked me for help. So yes, really appreciate it, guys. So before we start painting, this was requested by Kitty on Skype, and yeah, he just asked for a tutorial on this, so I'm gonna go ahead and make one. Okay, so this is what your outcome could look like. It could look like this one here, or it could look like this. This is what you should be aiming for first. Aim for a standard like this. The reason I say that is because this is pretty much the same thing. The only difference is I put more detail into shading, so I literally spent, I don't know how much longer just painting on this one compared to that, at least triple the amount of time to get all the extra detail. So yeah, that's how you get a better look, is just by spending more time on it. And you're not going to be amazing your first try. Basically this tutorial is going to help you like build up and get better over time, so you're going to have to do this maybe a few times to get to a good standard. But I'm going to show you different methods on how you can shade. So first thing you want to do is open up an outline into Photoshop. So I've got one right here, and I'm just going to unplug my mouse and plug in my graphics tablet. So now I've plugged that in, it should start loading at the bottom. There we go. Oh shit. I'll turn you off to start, and what you're gonna do is, what I prefer to do is have each colour of I don't know, so a separate part of each person on an individual layer. So like the hair would be on one, or stuff that's all of like a same or similar colour would be on one layer. And then what I would do is extract the colours and make them, and just put a dot of all the colours next to the picture, all on one layer, so you can easily get access to all the colours right away without having to fumble around. And it's just a lot easier, and it ends up just saving you loads of time. I'm not even joking, it saves you a lot of time. So first thing you want to do is open up your brush tool, and to start you can tell my brush is huge. So what you're going to want to do is first press so right click basically with the mouse. I don't know why I did that, but I generally turn the size down to around 10-15 pixels maybe. I'll keep it at, well, I'll start with about 30 actually, and I turn the hardness all the way down to 0%, but I'm going to start with 100%, and you'll see why in a minute. Then you're going to come over to where it says colors, and I'm going to start with the hair because it's the hardest thing, I reckon, yeah. So I'm going to hold the Alt button and make sure I've got the brush tool selected like here, and hold Alt, and it should bring this up, and you can select your color, press X, and it should swap the colors down here in the palette, and then hold Alt and select the darker tone. And what I do now is where it's got all the layers, so the outlines, I'm going to click below that and make a new layer. So make sure it's below all the outlines. I'm just going to rename it. I want to just going to rename it Paint Hair or something like that. And I'm just going to zoom in a bit, and I'm just going to literally just start painting, and not with the dark color, you want the lighter tone, and you're just going to paint just paint over where all the hair is, so you've just got a solid color to work off of, because it's just much easier and simpler for me to work with. So you're just going to paint over all the hair, keep going. And I'm not going to do it all because it will take way too long, but I'm now going to go and swap the colour, so I've got the dark tone, and what I'm going to do is go back into the brush settings and turn the hardness all the way down to 0 and bring down the size a bit, maybe down to around 5 pixels. And as you can see, it's a pretty small brush, and what you're going to do now is basically where you think the shadow should be, you're just going to draw like a dark line. So like here, this is where like a bit of hair sticks over, so I'm going to outline on this side a dark area, because that's where some shadows would be, because it's underneath some strands of hair. And then what I would generally do for the style that I did on this background is I'd come over to this tool called Smudge Tool, and I would turn the strength to about 80%. 80% is about good, and I'm going to make it a little smaller because it's a little too big, and I'm literally just going to go over the colours together and blend them into each other. If you are going for like not this one, the more advanced look, I would tend not to use the smudge tool as often, because it can end up not looking. It looks good, but it doesn't look as good if you spend more time without using it. But for most people, they just use the smudge tool, and you don't have to press really hard, because otherwise it will give you like a really dark outline. You don't want that. So I'm literally just gonna paint where I think the shadow should be. And on this style of paint, what they tend to do is have like it tends to have like the outline of the spikes seem to be like darker. So that's what I'm going to do. And don't forget, you can also push the lighter colours into the darker ones. If I did that, you can then you can just keep going over and blending the colours together. So if you have a big area like this where it's just of solid colour, what I tend to do is smudge the darker colour down into that area, because it seems, and give it like a little more of a gradient. Don't smudge it so it's really dark, you want to have like it just fades slowly into the light green. So I'm just gonna keep going over it with the smudge tool, so the colours they blend into each other basically. And what you could do is go to the brush tool, make a new layer, and turn down the size of the brush so it's really small, and I would turn down the opacity of the brush maybe to about 50%, and I would just draw some extra detail, like extra spikes, so like you can follow the hairlines where you think they should be, like that. And you could turn down the opacity of the layer if you want as well. It just whatever suits you and whatever looks best. And what I would also do is go over in some highlights. So what I could do is grab, I'm using the dark color, so I'll swap the light color for a pure white, and I'll paint over where some highlights would be. So right here would be a highlight, but I think the white is too strong there, so what I'll do is go back to the opacity tool, turn that down a bit, and just literally paint softly over the edge, so it'll give like a highlight tone, and that'll look good. It will add a little more depth if you want. Turn down the opacity a bit more, it'll help blend the colours more, and then you can get onto painting with the rest of the colours here. So you're literally just going to keep doing that all across the entire background. And to give you some help, what I'll do, it's pretty much the same thing. What I'll do is to help you, I'll paint where I think the shadows would go in a hard brush, just so you can get an idea of where you would do it for your one. So I paint some, oh, wrong layer, I'll make a new layer so you can see it better, but I'm just going to paint where I think the shadows should be, a bit there. Don't forget, like on the very top around here, I'd add some highlights at the very top and blend them in, because it's the very top of the head, and that's going to end up with the most light. So there'd be a big highlight there, blending into like a shadow. There'd be a shadow just coming down behind that bit there. Maybe all around here. Add some spikes maybe down coming, just extra detail. And you see like an area like here, there'd be a big shadow, I would say, right behind this big bit sticking out, because I generally have the light coming from the top left coming down to the right, and there'd be a shadow there, all the way around here. Basically wherever there's a line now, I would tend to draw like a shadow, and then you can pretty much blur these together. Don't forget, you're going to want to leave little highlights in here, just to give it extra detail. So when you have big strands of hair like here, what I would do is I'd get a really small brush and add some highlights, because there would be some highlights there, and it ends up giving it just a little extra detail, and that little extra detail is all you need just to turn it from a good piece to a really great piece. So don't forget the highlights. Okay, so what I would do, just going to go back to painting in more of the shadows, and what I do is around the center I try to get all the lines where all the shadows to meet into like a little point here. So as you can see, what I'll do is I'll try to get them all into like this little point, just because it ends up looking a little better in my opinion if you do that, because it looks a little more natural. So as you can see, they all join into this little point, because that's what hair's like, to be honest. So yeah, I know this is pretty rough from after I started rushing, but I'm just giving you a general idea of how you can do things. So how long have I been recording? 30 minutes. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I'm back, and I'm just gonna continue painting roughly where I would put the shadows, and where is it? Be one right here. And don't forget, you would use a soft brush for this. I'm just using a hard one just for the tutorial, or not even that, just to show you where I would put the shadows, because I'm not going to actually blend them all, because it takes a lot of time, and I don't think you'd want to watch me do that, would you? So just paint around here, definitely some shadows here, and bits like this bit where it looks like the hair's going underneath certain strands, you add a big shadow underneath that, and so there'd be a lot of shadow here. And what I tend to do is try to make the colours a bit darker as you go down, so all the hair that's down at the bottom would definitely be a lot darker so this would all be darker than the above hair. So keep going, nearly there. And what I would tend to do, just where there's big chunks of green like this, I would just lightly go over and just add a little more detail, and then go get the white, turn down the size of it, and then start adding highlights on the top bits of the hair where the lines are. So bits like here, I think there'd definitely be one around here, definitely along this strand here and down. Maybe some, like, maybe that's drawn bad, so keep going down around here and just adding shadows where you think there should be some, and highlights as well. So that's where I'd probably put the highlights, maybe one there, some more there. But that'd be roughly what I was doing. So it'd look something like that, and then of course change the. You're gonna change your opacities so it looks different, and that actually doesn't look really horrible, even though I've just rushed this. And what you can do is, where it looks a little rough, get the smudge tool, increase the size so it's pretty big, and you can just like blend all the colors so they don't look really off. And where their colors, where the highlights and stuff look a little overpowering, just blend them more. I mean, I'm only pressing this really lightly and literally just pressing it and moving it a little. I mean, I've hardly put much effort into that, and that actually doesn't look really bad. It looks, it's alright. I mean, I didn't spend much time on it, so, but once you've finished, pretty much, I'm just going to pretend I've finished because I'm pretty much done. There's two ways to rub out over the edges. So what I'd first do is I'd go onto the rubber tool, and I would change the hardness all the way up to 100%, and the size is way too big. So you're going to turn it down, and using the other end of your pen, what I would do is I'd start rubbing out over the edges. So I'd start with the base layer and rub out around the outline and do that. But there is a quicker way which I can show you how to do. So you just get the pen tool, and you're literally just gonna trace around all this hair. I'm just gonna do this roughly because, like I said, I don't want to waste all your guys' time. So you're just going to go around the edges, and don't forget to use the Alt button to get rid of the curve that it's already set for you. So like in a position, if I was to just go like that, it would give you like some weird curve or something if you didn't hold Alt. So let me try again. You see it goes all funny like that. You see like it goes really weird up around here when I tried to do it, and that's because I didn't press the Alt button on the point. So if you do that, it deletes the curve that it's already trying to follow. And as long as you keep the line, so you see where you see where the dot is, where my mouse is, as long as you keep that roughly on the line you're following, it shouldn't go off target like when you're trying to follow a big curve. But because I'm not doing any of those, it doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to say that's enough for now. So I'm just going to come round and literally just connect all the points, and I'm just going to go make selection, and make sure you set the feather radius to 0 pixels, and make sure its operation mode is set to new selection, and This doesn't matter, but mine's checked for anti-alias. And all you're going to do is click OK, and then what you can do is just press the backspace key, and it should delete where everything that you've actually inside this area. And if you want it to delete everything else apart from that area, so say if I had drawn around all the hair, and this is what it had selected, and it was deleting all the hair like it did here, and you didn't want it to do that, all you have to do is press Command Shift and I, or Control Shift I for Windows, and then press backspace, and it gets rid of the opposite selection for you. And I know it's pretty rough, but that would be what I would do, and it gives you a clean edge. So yeah, it's not too bad. But now I'm going to go ahead and show you another way that you can paint. So I'm just going to start around here, and what I'm going to do is make a brand new layer, and you're just going to press D on your keypad, and it should automatically reset this to black and white. And what I would do is using where I'd put the shadows where I think the shadows would be before, so like I said, around each point, what I would do is follow each line pretty much, and there's a bit where it comes down like here, around here, something like that. So I've gone way off there. Just try to follow the edges pretty much, and make sure you keep your mouse on the line following the curve, and that way it should stay pretty accurate. And don't follow it all the way around like this. What I would do is I'd come around and try and cut halfway, so I'd try and I wouldn't try to I'd just make it like, I don't know, just follow the outline and just connect it up like that. And I'd go make selection, click enter, and if you just press G on your keyboard, it gives you the paint bucket or gradient, but make sure you've got paint bucket out, and you're just literally gonna go inside this area here and click and it should give you an area like that. And you're not gonna, like you can see, it doesn't go and follow all the lines, the entire line all the way around. You can do that if you want, but I wouldn't. What I would do is set this to overlay and turn down the opacity a lot, because it's a little, something like, I don't know, it's a good solid 20 to 30%. It depends on what colours you're using, to be honest. But that doesn't look too bad, so I'll just do a few more. This method can take a while because it's really awkward to, you know, follow all the curves. It's just working on how you think the shadows would look and how they would look good. But you're basically just doing like a black outline, but not all the way around. It's just like where the shadows would normally be. So there you go, there's another one. All of this down here would be a shadow, so just, you know, just pretty much follow the line. And as you can see, that line there just stops, which gives the impression that this hair piece is then flowing into this piece. So what I would do there is I would like do a curve so you can see it blend like that, and I would just make selection, enter, G, paste, and I would get the rubber and just like make sure it's a soft brush. Turn the size up a bit, not that much, still too big. That looks alright. And then just literally just tap away at the edge so you can see it like fade into the darker tone pretty much. And it's literally just doing that over and over again. So there's two ways which you can shade. They're the ways that I use. if you want to get really good, try not to use the smudge tool as much. And what I would tend to do is just try to use more tones and more different colors. So the more tones you use, and if you try to blend them by using a in-between tone instead of just using the smudge tool, it ends up looking better. So I could show you how to do that in another tutorial, but it's more for advanced sort of shading. But there you go. So that's pretty much how to do it, guys. So thanks for watching. And actually, before I stop, what I would do is, after this, of course, go and do the where I showed you how to rub out here, do it again afterwards, and make sure you do it for all layers, so not just the base layer. Don't forget all the layers you've made on top, do it for that as well. So yeah, and don't forget to paint each individual piece on a different layer, so hair on one layer,